Yet, and we're going to use her to show you how to intro two dogs to get them to know each other from step one through the finish. And this is the way I would do it. I would go on neutral territory. We're out on the street, and both dogs have been here with me a little while, so they would perceive that yard as their yard. This is much more neutral than it would be in there. So this dog's about to come out right now, and she's going to get completely surprised, especially when they perk up their ears and they move towards that other dog. You want to definitely call her away. The worst thing to do, this is what not to do: tight leash, allow her to stare. Tension on the leash, staring can lead to much worse things, so you never do that. But just teach her, come, and use your training. So what this is doing is it's making you, the person on the other end of the leash, the center of the universe to her. She's getting paid for this new learned behavior, and it's come, timing. Good, the pet, the treat, everything happens at once, so that, you know, when there's an emergency in a few weeks of this, you don't need the treat, just use the target, like I'm doing it right now. Come. Good girl. But you see how it works so quickly because we're doing all the right moves. We're backing away. We're not standing still. Come. This time I'll give her a treat. Good. Because when you back away, the dog is drawn to run back to you. This is all related to introducing to a new dog, because instead of this being the object of desire and everything's about come, everything's about going over there. I got to go over there. But that could start a fight by letting her go over there and jump on the dog and get obnoxious. Come. So instead of that being the object of desire, really this becomes that distraction. Other dog, could be a jogger or anything else, becomes the cue to turn back to me, check in with me, and say, hey, that's my new job to do. I saw another one, pay me, and the payment now is going to be treats because come. We're trying to, good, very quickly ingrain this new pattern of behavior so that she can't even remember doing anything else, and she loves doing this way more than what she used to do. And you see, good, I hope you caught that. Even at this early stage of her training, I don't have to call her back anymore. Good, that pattern is starting to get in there, and I'm just feeding it. Every time she does it without me saying the C-O-M-E, she gets paid. Good. But you want to keep saying come for a while, okay? But this is just an example of how quickly it can work if you do the right moves. So from day one, when you're practicing this, make sure that you always get the dog is used to now this. And from there, there's all the other training moves, which we won't really go into today, but it would be, you know, like this and get her out of there. Here's something really important. So you see that dog? And you see this dog here, and they're both like, whatever. It's just that dog that's been there, and they're not pulling. They're looking at other things just as much as they're looking at each other. Now it's time to go to the next step, which is to go in a yard. But still, we're going to do this, but now we're going to be in their yard and do the next step, which is to get them a little bit closer. We are here now on our second introduction, and we've already done an abbreviated version of being outside and all the things we did in the first clip, and now we're back in the yard, and we're going to let them get a little bit closer to each other and see how things are. They're more relaxed than ever, although Chloe likes to jump and go after insects, and there's a few flies in this yard, so that's why she's kind of hyped up. And it's a warm day, so that's why she's panting, and that's why he's panting. And I'm just going to have Will come closer, come at least under the shade there, and when she looks at him, I'm going to say, come. Good. So you're going to keep doing that, and you're going to do what I'm doing now. So it's really important. Timing's everything. Come. Good. And if you can add a little pet in there at the same moment, that's perfect. Good. And you always have to say good. The dog, the reward, everything happens, the pet, the good, everything, at the moment that he gets the treat.
Come.
Good. Very good. And Will's not a trainer. We're just teaching him how to do this, so he just started. But this is the way to start off any intro correctly, is the recall away from each other, because your two big enemies in the beginning are leash tension and staring. can lead to aggression. I think that you should be careful of these ideas of, oh, they'll be fine, they're dogs, they'll work it out. That's just luck. It's called luck. And so if you have tools in which to, if you have to put a little effort into it, I know that, but if you really want this to work, then good. If you greatly increase the chances of success if you handle the dogs in a certain way when they meet, which there's no harm anyway. I'm teaching your dog a nice little recall and other things. Everybody really should want that. Come, I think, is everybody's go-to command, because come could save their life someday. God forbid, dog gets out somehow, sees a squirrel across the street, come. If you're practicing this way, where the recall is like a reflex, there's no thinking about it, it's just instantaneous, and you see how we're doing it. Every little bit of what we're doing is come, just good. It's a way to make it like a reflex so that there's no thinking involved when they hear that command. And that's a command you all should know anyway. Your dog should know. If there's one command, it's that one, I think. That's the one that keeps them safe. Calls them away from something on the ground you don't want them to eat. Calls them away from jumping on an elderly person or a child or something like that. So there's no reason to not do this anyway. Don't assume because you've had a few dogs in the past that you know what they're going to do, because I can tell you, after having 1,000 dogs, training, in the live-in program, over 1,000 dogs, I'm still seeing things that I never saw before. So now, because this is a new introduction, it's the second time we've gotten together, but I feel like it's okay, from what I see, to drop the leashes. And we both are going to stand back. So when you're going to do what I do, you're going to drop the leash there, and then you're going to back away. And when the dogs go to each other, we're both going to say, come, okay? You're going to have a fist. You're going to do it just exactly how I do it, okay? So let's drop the leash. Back away. Let the dogs do what they will. They'll come back towards us. And another thing about, I don't think so keep the treats away. Yeah, there's no treats now until you say C-O-M-E. Okay, so you just, there we go. Come. Good. So, a couple of things. I purposely didn't back away because I wanted to show you that if your back's to the wall or you're at the edge of a curb or something, because you practice in the way that I've been showing you, they'll run to you anyway because you practice by backing away. So I didn't back away because let's pretend that you're in a situation where your dog's right over near another dog. It will work if you practice in the way I've been showing you. So drop the leash again. And it's going pretty well. I mean, she's not even had a few weeks of practicing. Chloe, the dog that I have here, she's over there because she found a bug or something. And if she doesn't come back, guess what I'm going to do? Come! So if they don't come to you, do you notice how I didn't repeat the command? She was really into that bug or those bugs over there, and she didn't respond instantaneously. I think she was going to come back anyway, but that's not quick enough for me. So what you do is you just go closer to her, don't repeat it. She'll see that target and she'll go wherever this target goes. And even if you ran out of treats or you don't have treats, good girl, I didn't have any treats there, it will work because you practice the way we've showed you here. So we want these dogs to get together, so drop that leash. So you can see it's just like a big old whatever. And Will, if she jumps, you know what to do, right? Nope. There you go. And if she comes up to you, you want to pet her. You want to be down to meet her. Good. And this is what you're looking for. Both of them are more into us than they are into each other. We're dropping the leashes. I'm not letting her stay over there too quickly. This is part of the desensitization exercise of it, is you just allow short periods of interaction and over time let them stay together longer. Come! Come! Good. So if you are, you're standing there and you see that, something like that, it's great practice first of all, but I'm still going to do that a bunch more times because I want these dogs, and in real life we're doing this so that you can see how to do it with two dogs that are going to live together. So I want these dogs to be so good with each other. I'm going to put in some extra time to do, even after they're off leash or they're not restrained, to go over each other. And you'll see what starts to happen. It's already starting to happen. She went towards him and she turned away. And what will happen is they just pay more attention to the people than to each other because of the way we're handling them. Come! Come! Good. So all you do, Will, is you grab that handle. You don't do anything. You don't go with your food to his face. You grab the handle and you back away. Okay? Good girl. That's what we're looking for. We've established a pattern. We've practiced it dozens of times now with the two dogs, and I was waiting for her to come back to me because the pattern is with this dog that whenever she goes over, she ends up coming back to me right away. And so the pattern is already starting to become set. And I think the total we spent with these two dogs together has been no longer than half an hour, and they never met each other before. And then from there, you go into the house, and you should practice in the house sit stays. Before you let them loose together in the house, you do a couple more of these in the front yard, backyard. If there's only 1 yard, just that yard, before you leave them loose in the house. Also, in the house, make sure that there's no toys laying around, no balls, no food bowls laying out, anything that they could possibly fight over, because you never know which dogs. Your dog might have been good with other dogs coming over, but they're going to be different with different dogs. So you can never say, once again, oh, I know him or her so well, and she doesn't care about other dogs going near her food bowl. If you're free feeding, you need to take that bowl up, even if it's empty. And also any bones, toys, or anything like that you take up, because you never know what your dog's going to all of a sudden start to want to tell the other dog that they own, and to get away from that because this is my place. And the other dog, if you're just adopting the other dog, you don't know the dog really well, might have a thing about balls. You never know. One last thing that I want to show you, which would really help the whole project, is to practice boundary training with both dogs. And since the inside of the house is the most difficult place to have them get along, because one dog, whoever lives there, might be guarding, who knows what, guarding the people. Okay, practice, sit. Controlling the boundaries, and you can even walk through the house and do this in all the doorways of the house for a couple minutes. Sit, you practice a really good sit stay first of all. You never call the dog through the doorway to you, because then of course all you're doing is teaching the dog to rush after you. And you'll have if you're practicing calling the dog out of down stays or sit stays all the time, you're not going to have a very good sit stay, because that anticipation of the dog knowing they're going to call me any second makes for not a solid sit stay. This is a much better sit stay. So she knows now that she waits until I come back. She does not go through this boundary, this threshold, without going next to me on a loose leash. Okay. And if you have a dog that might pull, you might have to slow down at the threshold. See how I just tapped it and released it? See how she stopped? So this is how we teach a dog to not rush through. It's just a little tap and release. Tap and release. With a lot of dogs, you might have to stop at the threshold to really drive the point home. You're not racing through these boundaries anymore. Okay. And then a really hard one is to come out. So I'm going to close the door before I have her sit. A couple of other dogs here barking at us. It actually makes it a better situation, so you can see how she acts. Okay, sit. You see how she acts in the presence of some bigger distractions. Dogs barking at her. Dogs. She sits, she waits. I had her sit before I opened the door because it's harder for the dog to stay in a sit stay when the door opens. So if you want to make her as good as she can be, have her sit first, then open the door and teach her to stay seated as the door opens. She waited, I stepped out. I'm really accentuating the fact that this is my boundary, not hers. She only, nope, if she pops up before you do that, I just tapped her and said no, and she went back. I'm just doing it again just to really show you that how this works. If you do it this way, but it's all about the details, never calling her through, because if you call her through, she'll get really used to racing after you. Also, she'll have a very unstable sit-stay because she'll have a lot of anticipation because she knows you're about to call her. So we don't want that. We want really solid stays, super solid stays, where the only way that they leave that sit-stay, okay, is when you come back to get them and they walk through with you without pulling, right? You see how I'm doing it? A little tap, and then she's really waiting at this threshold. Okay, you walk through. If you're by yourself, which you probably would be most of the time, you do your little turn into her to close the door. Sit. If you've got a couple of dogs and you're doing this with them, first of all, they've forgotten about each other. They're working with you. She's still in the sit, so I'm going to release her. Go. Now she's free. And you really drive home that team. They're doing it together, back to back. And you could just do this exercise. One does that and then comes out, stays here. The other does that, comes out, and you just do that a couple times with each dog, and then you both go in there. By the time you get inside, they're going to be in the zone. They're not going to be thinking this is their place. It's your place. You're in charge. And just like all the other interactions inside, don't just stay there for hours. Maybe just do 10 minutes. And if you have to call them to come a few times to keep them from getting too close, always make sure that you end on a success. If you're just in there for 3 minutes and things are going well, and you think maybe it won't in 5 minutes or longer, end it while it's going well, and you leave off at that point, and the next time you come back, you get to start there. If you let it go on too long because you're not seeing the cues, and there's an episode, now you've lost ground. So don't worry about time spent. End on a success, and little short successes will add up to a successful lifetime.